Hey, what's going on, guys? This is your man Steele, coming to you live for a bit of a breaking live debate coverage. There is an extraordinary and very large debate going on right now on Twitter Spaces right now. As many of you may have heard, the president of El Salvador just announced today that he has plans, long-term plans to essentially open and develop what he is calling Bitcoin City. News has just kind of taken the globe by storm in terms of within the realms of cryptocurrency. Peter McCormick, he was, you guys may remember from, he could be described as one of the more prominent Bitcoin maximalists. He got in that kind of recent dust up with Mark Cuban about a month ago. He was just in the room. I think he just left, but the room's still very lively on what's going on there. A lot of interesting points being made. We're just going to cut to this debate right now, and I'll interject here and there. But other than that, we're just going to hang out and have some live debate coverage of, is Bitcoin City a scam? We'll continue to listen to the debate. I might chime in here and there with some of my thoughts. And then after the debate's done, I will kind of give a sum up of what transpired and what thoughts I have on the situation. Kenny Potter, what's going on? Good to see you. Emery Potter, wow, my niece and nephew. Slay Blaze, Hector the Dude, Keith. It's kind of an unconventional time. I hardly ever go on on a Sunday afternoon, right? So anyway, we're going to cut to this coverage, guys, without any further ado. So just get comfortable and feel free to chat up and talk amongst yourselves about this
I don't
interesting debate.
And forcing people to do something, right? So I've advocated for that before. So for disobedience, if you don't like Bitcoin, disobey, right? So my point being, the option that people have as far as knowledge and understanding of what the financial system does in fiat terms, we can actually propel people forward faster into the future by simply saying, look, there's this other world that doesn't require you to have an ID by the state, where you can transact amongst each other, trade your goods and services amongst each other without needing a secondary or a third party.
By the way, is the volume okay on the debate? Let me know.
As we build on top of the system, we can have more options for loans, right? So debt doesn't necessarily have to be bad, right? So if we have poor people that are on a fixed income, sorry guys, I have a baby.
Wow, that's a screaming kid.
If we have poor people on a fixed income and the inflation is eating alive at their income, what options do they have, right? How can we help them exit that system? And this is what Bitcoin is doing. It's not necessarily what you prefer. That's fine. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's worse or better, but it is definitely the dominant force. The market has chosen that, not through the government, of course, but through the world. The whole world has chosen this solution, and they're building on top of it. I'm actively building on top of it. Many people are building on top of it. You may be building on top of something else, but the point being, Bitcoin is going to help you personally become more familiar with the people of El Salvador, because otherwise most of you would not be paying attention to El Salvador, okay? Myself, I'm Guatemalan. I'm in Guatemala today. I left the U.S. more than 3 years ago because I was not happy with how life was going there, okay? So many people are realizing that maybe their lives in the Western world is not what they want to do. It's not the world that they want to live in before. So they want to build something better, right? So Bitcoin is going to allow a lot of people with a lot of capital to enter the spectrum of the poorest countries in the world that have never been paid attention to, invest in those countries through infrastructure. And somebody mentioned trickle-down economics. That's really not what the libertarian right believes, or at least the right wing believes. That's like a perception of one guy that was elected in the 70s. It has nothing to do with right or conservatism. So clear that up. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin. Trickle-down economics is just one facet of your perception. Okay, it is not what happens. When you hire someone, they feed their family, and the people that they hired to feed their family, they feed their family. Okay, that's not trickle-down. That's simply economics. It's exchange. That's free exchange. And is the government going to take a cut? I hope not. I would say don't pay it. But Use other wallets that don't involve the government and don't pay it. Right, that's my advocacy. But I know that many people feel otherwise, so that's fine. But the independent people that are trading amongst each other are benefiting from this, and they will continue to benefit. So, sorry guys, I have a baby. Of course.
Hello, I have a couple questions about all the conversation, and the question are about the politician that the government is implement, and with the topic of the conversation is about the scam, is Bitcoin sitting as a scam. I think that is actually not a scam for the investors, but we have to ask if is it a scam for the Salvadorians. My question are, what about the Cuban people who receive remittance from United States when they have so much of control to give money from out of their country? What about people as Cuban and Venezuelan? And what about the blockchain technologies? Do you think that this kind of technology will be increased according to this kind of plans of the government? I think if they are trying to implement that kind of technology with this regulation, I think that is an opportunity to increase that kind of control. I speak about the blockchain in particular, and not the Bitcoin, not Ethereum, and not anymore anyone of coin. I'm speaking about the blockchain. What are you thinking about the technology of blockchains to apply that kind of technology with the employee on the enterprises? What about the implement of the blockchain in the government research gestion? And I think that the blockchain is a technology that we can use to reduce the cost of the operations and control better more the research, the national research. Do you think that is a good environment to apply that? And I'm conscious that you are trying to explain for other people that the government is not doing good things with the political in El Salvador. I want to ask you what kind of political needs El Salvador to control that, to control any purpose to corruption in the politic that they are trying to implement. What public is necessary to control projects, big projects as Bitcoin City, to control correctly the researches as our volcanoes that actually is try to use to increase the electricity in our country. That's are my questions. I don't know if you can answer me. I'm sorry, I'm very nervous.
Yes,
you're fine.
Yes, very nervous. Took
I think
about
the thing we got
15
ask
minutes to
ourselves
get
here
that
is like,
question.
everyone is free to use the network whenever they like. No government, like you don't have to have a sign off from typically, right? You have a sign off from the government to actually use it. That's why you see like the countries you mentioned, people there are probably using it. Not a lot of people, I would argue, but people can use it there. The difference that we're seeing here is that the El Salvadoran government is actually choosing to do things that are above and beyond just letting people use it. They're investing in it. They're buying it. They're holding it, right? And it begs the question is, what is BTC being used for?
Is it being used for as a speculative asset that will drive its price up and hope that the buyer increases its value? Or is it actually creating infrastructure for people to buy and sell and create commerce within their country? I think it's the former. That we're not here for the actual technology. We're here for price appreciation. We're hoping that the price goes up from where the country bought it at so that it can now sell and create schools and do everything, buy the laptops and do everything else, right? It's not actually funding the idea or providing the idea that it creates a simpler way to have commerce. Like Lightning Network has its own technical limitations that are going to be exposed once enough people start using it. It has problems today that if you speak to people who are knowledgeable in this space will confirm and agree that yes, this is not as advertised. BTC network itself, there are issues. There are people, you cannot transact, it's very expensive. There's a hard limitation on the amount of data that can come through every 10 minutes. These are the problems that exist on the actual network itself. So to say that we are trying to move El Salvador forward by using BTC, you're actually moving El Salvador backwards because you're not doing anything but just trying to enrich the price that you bought at and make it go up higher so that then you can sell and do whatever you want with the money.
Guys, if you're just joining us, we're doing live coverage of a debate that's going on Twitter Spaces right now. Is Bitcoin City a scam? The gentleman you just heard is the host of that space. He's very skeptical of the concept of Bitcoin City. Actually, in his last bit there, I do think he made some pretty salient points. I kind of find myself, the more I'm learning about the plans for Bitcoin City, and the more I'm hearing both of these sides debate about it, I find myself kind of coming down in the middle. A lot of the concerns that the host of this space, who's very skeptical about the concept of Bitcoin City, I think are valid ones. The other thing that comes to mind is, not to sound cliche, but Dogecoin solves these. All the shortcomings and the weak points about Bitcoin that he stated, for the most part, not all, were valid concerns. And these are where Bitcoin comes up short or kind of comes up weak in its technology. Dogecoin really solves those problems, and these are many problems that we talk about on this show. So overall, I'm not going to get too much further into it because I do have further thoughts on this that we are going to tie into this. But also, if you haven't hit the like button, feel free to hit the like button so it keeps up in those algorithms, folks. Anyway, back to the debate.
Says, hey, now it's 25 cents per 100. Great, good for you, bro. What I'm trying to tell you, because I've came from that industry, is the issues that comes with it. You send too much money, you get flagged. Oh, here's another one that doesn't get talked about. Say you go to 7-Eleven, Rite Aid, Walgreens, Wells Fargo, and now you have 10 Western Union or MoneyGram accounts, right? Guess what? Ask anyone who's worked in MoneyGram or Western Union, don't take my word for it. Actually, ask someone who you know, or ask someone in the window next time, hey, do you incur these issues? There are multiple profiles, dummy accounts, or, this is an old account, it's invalid. And if the person receiving the money in El Salvador, if it's supposed to say Joe Smith and it's John Smith, they don't get the money. And then second, I've seen so many flagged accounts for sending irregular amounts of money. If I want to send my grandma $300 this week and $500 next week, say there's a flood, now my grandma needs $1,000. They think it's, cartel activity or for drugs or something. So with the power of sending Bitcoin, I don't care how much it costs to send Bitcoin to my grandma, but I have the power of sending it whenever. Oh shit, Walgreens is closing at 6 p.m. on a Sunday. Shit, I better rush over there. And I accidentally wrote my niece's information, not my, my aunties or my grandma, which they probably all have the same name, different middle name. There's all these issues that happen, and people forget.
I was able to do that online just now. I was able to try to...
No, true. You can also go to...
I don't know why you're creating this narrative that we have to go to this Walgreens to do this.
That's true. You're not wrong.
It's an alternative.
But I'm saying...
That's the point.
That he has to run to Walgreens on a Sunday night because it's about to close. So that's not true. That's what I'm saying.
Now, but for a lot of the hardworking Hispanics who are not tech savvy, they get paid in cash, or they have their own business, their IT number, they cash their check out Wells Fargo.
How do you expect? How do you expect these people to carry around their private keys if you think they're not technically savvy?
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
what
what's your
I'm saying.
argument there?
I'm glad that there's an option of using blockchain to use crypto to send money across the border at any time for any reason without, having roadblocks. Or because grandma's ID expired, now she can't receive her money through. There is no other way.
I know, but you're just creating emotional stories that don't exist when the point is
Oh, they
grandma's
very
still
well
gonna have technical
They exist. They 100% exist. Do exist.
So,
No, the thing is,
now,
you're
for
trying
the,
to create
priv-
emotion
for,
when
for
you
the
just create
privileged
logic.
that work everything well and are well educated and well off and have good money in El Salvador and United States, sure. But what I'm saying, because I worked in the industry, ask someone else. Don't take my word for it. All these issues happen. You send $100 and the bank is 100 miles away from La Colonia, so now grandma has to drive or somehow get there before the bank closes in El Salvador. And then God forbid that the sender forgot to put the middle name or they misspelled the seed phrase. There's a way of the seed phrase. There's a way of sending money without an account.
You can see on the tweet I just posted, I can send it directly to a debit card or credit card. So to say that I need to travel somewhere to do this, it's not the truth. You're literally going against what's actually true. I can pay online. I can send it to a debit card directly to grandma's wallet that she's sitting in her house. And don't worry about private keys. Don't worry about anything, right? To make this argument, it's just an emotional story. You're trying to create a grandpa.
No. You're just all I just want to bring up is the power of using Bitcoin over money.
There's no power there. It's the exact same issues, right?
Here's another one. If say MoneyGram suspects fraud activity on the debit card, they'll cancel it. That's power over you. Or they'll withhold money. Or there's always some kind of issue.
Flags happen. Flags happen in international payments regularly. To say that it's a non-issue is just strange because
no,
clearly you haven't used it
of course,
internationally.
He's a fucking clear. He's a fraud.
And I'm not even trying to argue against what you're saying. Everyone's right here. Well, what everyone's been saying. The only issue I have, briefly, is there are issues, and ignoring that just because you believe more than 90% of all Western Union customers have this Western Union debit card ready and available to swipe and use is untrue. Because I live in Vegas, and let me tell you, I know my people, and you cannot tell me I don't know them. Not everyone has the luxury of having a debit card mailed to them, or the luxury of driving in their own vehicle in El Salvador. Hey, I got my little Western Union debit card in El Salvador, which my uncle sends me money. No, most of it is all cash.
Or trust.
Go to some window, some bank, and pick up the money. And God forbid, the stupid person at Walgreens put in Joe Smith and not John Smith. Now you can't get your money.
But there's a whole number of products that give you solutions to this problem.
I want to clear a point because I think you have exaggeration. Because El Salvador, no one travels 100 miles to get to the bank because the country itself only has 150 miles side to side. Sorry, but I had to say that. Sorry.
Obviously, exaggerating it. No one travels 100 miles, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
A lot of people are on foot, bike, and moto. And los metrobuses with 50 people jammed up in it. But what if grandma is by herself with my little baby cousins? She can't just leave the house.
That's what I'm saying. Now you're just treating these
Guys, you are watching live debate coverage of, and the topic is Bitcoin City a scam? And this is live debate coverage from a very large debate going on right now on Twitter Spaces. I thought it would be interesting to plug it through the feed here, add a little bit of commentary, a place for you guys to chat and talk if you feel compelled to do so. I think a lot of good points are being made here. I find myself kind of in the middle of the people that are for and against. I am overall for this idea, and I will explain why after the debate concludes. But in the meantime, we're just going to keep listening. I will periodically chime in like I am now. But other than that, and feel free to put your thoughts in the chat as well. Also, if you haven't hit the like button, if you could just take a moment to do that. That's the number one thing you can do to help out the channel and let more people know what we are doing here. So again, welcome this Sunday afternoon for live debate coverage of Is Bitcoin City a Scam? Now, back to the debate, guys.
the government is taking on the risk by holding this asset because they believe it's saying we believe in this system that's going to provide everyone in this country opportunity. But the argument is, where's the opportunity when there are already existing systems that provide similar solutions? There's nothing unique about this, and there's no risk. I can download an app from the App Store just as much as I can get a a Chivo wallet or anything else, right? So why am I having this additional risk as a citizen of this country?
So
what is the value?
So you prefer the latter, or you think even using Bitcoin in general, forget the wallets, just transacting, sending to everyone's wallet back and forth to conduct business, you think that's not a solution long run?
It already exists, right? Like there are already solutions in place that you can have as a commerce, as a business, right? Or as a person to send and receive money that are available on the App Store just as much as a third-party wallet is, right? If you're saying that everyone has a phone, but not everyone has a car, fine. Everyone can download a piece of software from
in the business world. Since I worked in the bank, wire transfers are still $25 to $100 depending on the amount and what country and what.
Right, wire transfers are not happening within the country itself. If I'm buying stuff from you in a country, that's what Lightning is for, right? That's what people are using Lightning for. Expectedly, people are using Lightning for. So tell me how this is greater. Why is the country of El Salvador spending money? They can, advertise, say, hey, people, you guys should try this service over that service, and we'll help it to the extent that we can. But they're buying the actual asset. That doesn't make any sense as to why that is.
I think where it does make sense that we might not understand, because there's a lot of business deals that go behind closed doors. It's cutting out a lot of middlemen, and those people don't like that. Whereas the latter that you're referring to, let's just say there was no Lightning, Shiba wallet became not useless, and everybody goes back to the way things were. It's going to take a lot of people's jobs away. A lot of middlemen banks, a lot of title companies, a lot of when I used to receive deposits from New York for what do you call it, when boats transact, right? It takes 1 month or more to process. Like if a shipment has to pay another company, an LLC or an LTD, it takes can you believe it? It takes almost 2 months to process their checks. They're not even checks. They look like Declaration of Independence contracts. Like they're freaking huge. It's like 3 pages long. Hey, 5,000 of these items are being transferred to this account in lieu of this, and I promise to pay, like promissory notes. It'll take away all of that bullshit, basically.
But I can literally do the same thing right now. Anyone in El Salvador right now, I can send you $25, and it's going to cost me fractions of a penny.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how many middleman companies are going away. There's a lot of people, No,
I understand this. I understand your reasoning, but I'm just saying, I can offer a solution that is not BTC, that is cheaper and faster to do so, and I can send you that value right now. And the government does not need to own any of the asset if it doesn't want to.
Are you referring to using Walgreens, using MoneyGram and Western Union services?
No, I can use a wallet right now on the App Store called Handcash, and someone could download it from El Salvador right now, and I can send money, and it would work.
That's fine. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that solution. What I'm saying is overall the power of just simply using Bitcoin. Forget what platform you're using. It's cutting out a lot of middlemen and a lot of issues that you and I might not even recognize. If we were to talk to different sectors in El Salvador, to the bread maker, the movie theater, the Pollo Real, if you were to talk to every single, one by one and interview them and say, hey, how can this improve? You're going to have different arguments of how this is way better. Because there's a lot of gatekeeping, a lot of bullshit, a lot of corruption still. And they don't want even Bitcoin to even... Can you imagine this? There's so many cryptocurrencies, they can't even accept Bitcoin yet. And those are people in power, royalty, and they don't want this shit because they want the money to funnel through them first. That's all. And any solution using crypto is a big win for everyone. Because last time I checked, it's about $10 billion in remittances sent to, Jamaica, Canada, South America.
Go to the argument up above, right?
And that money funnels through these people.
But it's irrelevant. It's going to funnel through someone. If it doesn't funnel through Western Union, it's going to funnel through a miner. And that miner is going to charge me more than the Western Union will. So someone's going to get rich off my $2, right, is what you're saying. You just don't want it to be Western Union for some reason.
Exactly, because I'd rather be in power sending my grandma money $1,000 with, who cares if her ID's expired, her passport's no good, or she has to go to Costa Rica. What if she had to leave her home country? And now she's in Costa Rica, with maybe one family member.
You just gave me a figure of $10 billion of remittances. If these
That's
things
the
were
figure.
true,
that is the figure. That is true. Year after
if that was
year.
true, right? If that was true, people would not be doing remittances and spending billions of dollars.
We have to anyways to feed our family or to help whatever it is you want to send your family money for. Again, the $10 billion is from Canada, Mexico, and Central America and abroad. That's where I'm getting that number from, and that money is paid. I'm not saying that using Bitcoin is going to be like, all right, more money in my family's pocket. No,
exactly.
There's still going to be some kind of fees involved. But the power over all these companies is what I'm saying. No more roadblocks.
I'm saying these are companies. These miners are literal legal entities around the world that make money off you transactions. They are becoming next Western Union. They're payment processors. They're just a different form. Nothing changes here.
Well, as time goes by, it is in my belief, mine only, that it'll improve. Fees will get better using Bitcoin or any crypto alike.
Can I bring a different example from a different country? I'm also Latino. I'm from Cuba, so I don't know what's going on El Salvador, but I can tell you what's going on in Cuba. For me to send money to my family using Western Union here from the United States, it is just impossible. So number one, at this very same point in time, sending money through Western Union is closed because the Trump administration decided that we should not feed our families back in Cuba. So that option is not available to us. Number two, the banking system in Cuba is completely non-existent. There is no way to transfer money from one person to another using banking. That doesn't exist. That's only that here we have. There is not existent. People transact only using cash. They would never put their money in the bank because the history of the government of closing and freezing accounts and just literally taking your money, right? So they will never use that option. So for us, if we had an option to send Bitcoin to Cuba and feed our families that way, that would be life-changing. There is no other option for us. So here we are not comparing. We're not talking about, it will cost me more money, it will cost me less money. We're talking about not other option.
Are you in Cuba right now?
I am not, sir.
Okay.
I'm here in the United States.
Just curious. No,
Similar stories with Lebanon and other countries that don't have the luxury of TravelGram, Western Union, the Handshake app that you mentioned. Many of these countries have very, very difficult. And one of my best friends is a full-time travel nomad who's been running around the Middle East, seeing Lebanon and like other countries getting crushed by inflation, Turkey, and banks and MoneyGram services. And a lot of these apps are a lot more clumsy than simply sending $2. So I think people like, obviously nuance is important, but there's a lot of ultimatum. Like obviously Bitcoin maxis are, not realizing that there's other options, and people are saying that like Bitcoin doesn't have value and that Chivo or El Salvador doesn't have a value. Yet maybe they're spending too much money, but you could also argue governments waste trillions of dollars on stupid things, including marketing. It could even be it's already bringing economic activity to El Salvador, and while it's probably not the best way, it's innovation on something from the banking sector, which has been proven time and time again, the corporate financial system to be against the common retail investor or hardworking person, regardless of what country they're in. So it's just an alternative, and I think people are just getting a little too tribal.
And I agree.
Sorry, I just dropped my my feed there. I think that last gentleman made a really good point. Kind of falling more where I feel on the perspective of this debate. Most of this debate so far have been pretty absolute voices, more either from a Bitcoin maximalist perspective or people that are just defiantly against the concept of Bitcoin and the establishment of Bitcoin City. The last fellow there raised a very salient point, and that is that there are many countries throughout this planet wherein banking systems hardly exist and cannot be trusted at all. So in that regard, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are super viable, super welcome, and not only welcome, but very needed alternatives throughout these sort of territories. I think that's a very good point to be made there. Those of you who just came in, yes, you are watching Steven Steele Live. It's me, real deal Steven Steele, just doing something a little bit different today. There's a massive debate that broke out on a Twitter Spaces right now, debating, is Bitcoin City a scam? the president of El Salvador, announcing huge news today that he is floating the concept and is going to go ahead with development, beginning stages, for something that he is calling Bitcoin City, that is in part going to be, the electric is going to be ran there through the energy of a volcano nearby. A very ambitious project, very interesting project, and one we are going to get into on the regular show later tonight. But in the meantime, we are just going to just kind of keep covering the debate here. I'm going to offer a little bit of commentary in and out like I'm doing right now. And we're going to get back to the debate now. In the meantime, feel free to offer your thoughts in the chat. I'm going to be typing and chatting along with you guys. Also, don't forget to press the like button so more people can see that we are live and covering this. Anyway, thank you for joining, and we are going to get back to the debate, folks.
People that he's working with, and see that that's not acceptable, because the digital dollar was in a bill last year in March 2020 called the Banking for All Act. I would suggest everyone reads that. And the U.S. government proposed to make the Federal Reserve a principal banking partner, meaning that the consumers themselves would be dealing with the Federal Reserve, and they would be using postal locations as banks. And then the retail banks would simply hold pass-through wallets from retail users to the Federal Reserve. So we're talking about a world centralization project that nobody's really addressing in this room. Whether you like Bitcoin or not, I think you should be concerned about that. And you should find the strongest asset, the strongest network, and the strongest monetary system that you can find in order to counter that. And in my personal opinion, and in many people's opinion, that's Bitcoin, which is why this is important to us. Because forget about the price appreciation, right? I'm not gambling on it. I'm not trading on it. I'm not borrowing against it. I'm not taking loans out. Whenever I have to sell something, I try to sell as little Bitcoin as possible. I spend my Bitcoin directly, right? I run 2 Bitcoin direct companies, which do not take fiat. We decline fiat transactions. We only accept Bitcoin, and that should be the norm for people that are looking forward past the fiat system that we're building upon. Because you're talking about Western Union, dropping their fees, whatever, sure. But what does that mean when the digital dollar comes in, which is inevitable, all right? There's no timeline for it, but it's inevitable. Why? Because they're talking about it. They're talking about equity. They're talking about equality of outcome. They're talking about racial justice, and they're talking about all these things that matter to them. But I don't care for that, right? I'm not okay with them taking my money to make it equitable for somebody else that I did nothing to, right? First of all, so this is getting into politics. I personally don't like politics, but we have to talk about it because that's where we're going. The centralization of power, centralization of money, centralization of capital and resources, and how can we bring that into the forefront and say, this is what matters, right? I want to remain sovereign. I want to remain free. I don't want to remain part of the system. And that's where my personal view site is looking towards. I don't care if you don't like Bitcoin or that you love Bitcoin. Work on your own stuff, right? But the fact that El Salvador adopted it should give you a bigger signal than your individual dislike for Bitcoin. And that's where a lot of people are missing.
Let me take you down the idea, right? So if you go forward and we go to a hyper Bitcoin world, right? Hyper BTC world where everyone's using BTC, right? And none of the parameters change because we expect them to be the same as today. There's still 21 million Bitcoin. There's still the 1 megabyte transfer. There's still Lightning. There's still whatever, right? You're going to get kicked off the network because if everyone is using it, the cost to transact on the Lightning, on the main chain is going to be more expensive. You're competing against nobody right now. There's nobody on the network compared, like I'm saying, relatively speaking, in the world, right? No one is using this thing. There are people, but it's very small, just to give you perspective. Once everyone is using it, everyone is competing, everyone's fighting for right access to the main chain. Yes, verify my transaction. You are now going to you're going to get kicked off to the secondary chain, Lightning, because you are not willing to spend the thousands of dollars it's going to cost, tens of thousands of dollars it's going to cost to settle on the main chain. You're going to be part of a major roll-up every time Lightning has to settle and move back to the main chain, or otherwise you're going to sit on the secondary network that has none of the properties of BTC, right? The whole purpose of BTC.
You're right.
So that's my.
Here's one thing. Here's one thing you're forgetting though.
That's your issue. Is you're going to have to make sure you're going to have to be part of that or get out of it. So how no,
here's one thing you're forgetting is time.
If it's not going to work.
No, but I think you're forgetting one critical aspect of this is time preference. Okay, so I see someone transferring $800 million for less than $1.
Is that guy that guy's literally living in the jungle.
They're willing to wait for 3 days. That's the beauty of the Bitcoin network. You can negotiate with the market, with the network, and say, "Look, I don't."
Either that, or he's like a shift manager at the Rainforest Cafe.
I'm willing to wait 3 hours. For example, I sent one yesterday for 7 satoshis per byte, which cost me 30 cents. Right? It was a large amount of money. I sent it, and it took 3 hours. That's totally fine with me. I wasn't in a rush. The client caused. Let me just finish my quick point.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I know everybody's excited and they want to get their point across, which it doesn't bother me. So my point being, I don't think you're taking into consideration the time preference of individuals. Okay, and that's one of the flaws of central planners. And I'm not saying you're a central planner, but you're saying that there's no other options. There are other options. You can go use ETH, you can use BSV, whatever you want to use, right? If you don't think that's appropriate for Bitcoin, there's also Lightning Network. There's also more centralized wallets, right? We're building one. That's a little bit different than Lightning, but it works. So the point is, you're ignoring that individuals have the ability to choose time preference, cost preference. What else? The macroeconomics of Bitcoin don't matter, okay? Because you can't predict what people are willing to do, or willing to pay, or willing to do with their individual money. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin that we're all kind of ignoring here. At the behest of what, I'm not really sure. If we have political disagreements, that's fine too. But there's an individual factor that Bitcoin brings to the table that you can't ignore.
That's the issue, right? Like, you just...
Hold on. That poor fella, not only does he have kids crawling all over him, but he's got a freaking half of a jungle residing inside of his home. That's a very busy man.
Whatever you said. Pay 30 cents, right? That doesn't happen anymore because everyone will now be competing for that same space, and that number goes up exponentially because everyone else is using it. So now not even to use the main chain, you have to go through the main chain to go to the secondary chain. So to even say I don't want to pay these fees all the time, you're gonna have to pay them once at least and go into Lightning, or pay them every time you want to go into Lightning, because it's inevitable. And otherwise, you say, okay, I will just receive Lightning coin payments. Right? Lightning Network payments, which is a different coin, essentially. And you'll never receive any of the properties that you're stating. You'll never have the uncensored money. You're going to have this risk of having to own the transactions that you're transacting in because everyone has a node, right? And having to run your own node, that technical debt is huge on everyone, right? But if you expect that to happen, you're going to have people priced out all the time. And that's what essentially economically does not make sense for the system to work.
I somewhat agree with you, and this is where I have hope and you have dismay. Okay, that's where the difference is. I think that the individuals go into the system, and I've come across parallels of issues where I cannot do something. For example, on Bitcoin. For example, we had an auction for a very large, expensive domain in Bitcoin. Okay, he wanted 60 Bitcoin. I said, we're going to have to remove some aspects of our system, which is centralized, in order to fit this much Bitcoin. Okay, so we adapted. And the adaptability, again, individuals have the ability to adapt so quickly that you're not taking that into consideration. Okay, the Lightning Network is just one answer. I just shared, we're building one that's totally different from Lightning. It doesn't use fees because that, to me, does not equate to security or to rentability in the long term, because it goes up and down, right? People don't want to use it, or there's limitations. Like if you have a node and there's a transaction there that happened a week or two ago, you can't shut the node down until those funds are removed. Okay, that's a limitation I was not willing to work within, and that's why we're not building on Lightning. Okay, that's one thing that people don't know.
Exactly.
But this takes time. This takes time to understand. And the beauty of Bitcoin and the why as to my personal why I'm building on it is because it gives people the uttermost flexibility with their money. Okay, I want to have it in my pocket. I don't want to be arbitrarily taken from. I don't want to be arbitrarily stolen from. I don't want to be arbitrarily stopped. Okay, this is what happens in the fiat world. I had a large payment come in 3 years ago when I was living in the US, and I couldn't get it for 6 months. Why? Because I was under investigation, and it didn't make sense to the banker as to why I was receiving so much money. But I sell domain names. So people don't understand what a domain name is. Oh, they put a red flag on your account is busted, right? So you have to adapt as quick as possible. And the beauty of Bitcoin is that there's so little intervention from central planners that you can build something on your own with very little knowledge without having to go ask for permission, without to ask for rent, right? You can have your server for fairly little money and little resources, and you can build upon it, which is why I think El Salvador is missing out on something that's very important. And the people who are against Bitcoin are missing something very important, which is what flexibility that we've never had access to, because we're not central banks. Okay, we will never be the IMF or the World Bank. Right? These people have control, and this is what we're going towards. We're going towards more control, not less.
Right.
And Bitcoin gives us that key where you can say, "Look, I don't want to be in this system anymore." You can just build upon your own system, have sovereignty that you've never had before. And once El Salvador wakes up to that reality, aside from the dollar valuation of Bitcoin, which is, in my opinion, a broken valuation, it will explode in opportunity. And that's where I think we should be focusing on, not whether you agree with the president or not, because I don't like any president ever. You will never see me voting for anybody in my life. Okay, maybe Ron Paul in 2006, but I didn't do it because I didn't want to vote. So that's my point.
Some interesting points there. Guys, we are listening to a debate that's going on live on Twitter Spaces right now. It's a huge debate that's broken out. For those of you who haven't heard, the president of El Salvador announced just this morning, our time, that he has designs and plans to go ahead with the beginning stages of development for what he is calling Bitcoin City. Now, Bitcoin City is going to obviously be located in El Salvador, off of a coast neighboring a volcano, and a lot of the electricity for Bitcoin City is supposedly going to be generated through the energy of this volcano. Very groundbreaking, very ambitious concept, and where Bitcoin will be the overall predominant, of course, legal tender established in Bitcoin City. So it's interesting to hear this debate, different residents from around the world debating the merits of Bitcoin City. It certainly ticked off a certain group of people who think it's a horrible idea that's going to be very disadvantageous to the people of El Salvador, wherein other people seem to think much differently. We've been hearing perspectives from folks who could be described as more of a Bitcoin maximalist type of mentality. We've also been hearing from people who just hate crypto in general, hate Bitcoin, think of this as an awful idea. And then we've been hearing a few voices here and there, which is probably the category I'd probably most describe myself, is having a bit more of a moderate approach to this. One of the things that keeps going through my mind, I saw a few comments in the chat here as we listen to this debate unfold, is I think a lot of the people that are against the idea of Bitcoin City, I think several of the points they keep raising are valid ones, and the shortcomings of Bitcoin as they perceive it that they're bringing up are genuinely shortcomings of Bitcoin. However, Dogecoin solves almost all of these concerns that they have been bringing up in this debate. So overall, I do think in the direction of something like Bitcoin City is a positive one. I do support it. And as I've stated many times in the show, once we get Bitcoin more established throughout the globe through different territories, nations, governments, and now we're talking about cities kind of devoted and structured around to it, I think it will be only inevitable that the likes of more adoption for Ethereum and Dogecoin won't be too far behind. Guys, if you haven't pressed that like button, if you could just take a moment to do that, it's a big help. Feel free to continue to express your thoughts in the chat. We're going to get back to the debate now, and I'll chime in a little while.
So
real quick. I'm sorry.
Thank you for responding. Thank you for saying that we needed Salvadorian voices to be heard. And I just wanted to say, this is something that I've been on this call since it started. And as coming from a political philosopher, just mentioning that, and I've been in direct contact with Gato and with Roberto and all of these other people who are in El Salvador, and they've spoken and they've said, we're not being heard. And the issue I'm having, even on this call right now, which is troubling, and I feel your pain also, Jesse, is that the Bitcoin community seems to be gaslighting and coming into these spaces and speaking over Salvadorian voices and saying, well, you don't know what's best for you. We know what's best for you because this is going to be liberating for you, totally. And it's like, how can you say that to people who are literally like they're fighting to stay alive, and people are going missing in the country if they're going against the government? And I can go into a first point that Peter brought up, and it really bugged me, was that he glazed over the fact that there's trouble and issues going on in the country. And that really bugged, because it's like, we have Salvadorians in this call right now who would, if I had I would say, have them come up on here and speak and say, how really is the experience of the Salvadorian going compared to the Bitcoiner who comes by and gets a luxury treatment? And like you said, Central Americans, we're all connected in this, and we're not against Bitcoin. We're not against the coin in itself. We're against the forced Article 7 that says if the Salvadorian is offered to get paid in Bitcoin, he or she must accept to get paid in Bitcoin. That, I can buy crypto right now because I feel like it. But the fact that my paycheck and how I survive has to be Bitcoin. If I work for the government says they're going to pay me in that, I have to accept it. I don't know. And to say that, I don't get involved into politics. Well, you have to. It's your duty. If you are a crypto person and you're into crypto money and you're all about crypto and you want to know about El Salvador, well, it's your duty to get involved and understand and hear the voices of Salvadorians of what's going on. Running water, LGBT rights, people going missing, and all of these other issues that are going and being undermined.
I just got to interject for a little bit. This guy's obviously a very woke individual. So, he's talking about crypto enthusiasts drowning out the voices from El Salvadorians to impose the legislation of Bitcoin integration within the El Salvadorian society and within El Salvador, its legal tender, and now the experiment with Bitcoin City. Hold the phone. The president of El Salvador is the one that's ushered all of this in. He was voted in by overwhelming margins by the citizens of El Salvador. So this idea that I think his narrative is just ridiculous. I think his narrative on his face is ridiculous. Now, if there's enough people in El Salvador that want to oppose the path of further Bitcoin and crypto integration in with legal tender of its government, that's up to those folks. But to say that folks outside of the country are imposing all of this on El Salvador is just patently false.
Let me try to answer that.
I would like someone else to answer, because you've been answering almost everything.
Yeah, you've been talking way too much. No, I won't. And I've only spoken like 10 minutes. It's been twice since I've been talking way too much, man. You gotta let other people talk.
And I have to say, guys,
I just want to make one point.
I do agree with the previous speaker. Like, I'm from Dominican Republic, and there it's this growing up there. I grew up there a couple years. I live in Florida now, but everybody knows that the government is corrupt. There's different level of corruptions in different country. But when the government decides to impose the use of Bitcoin, like the previous speaker said, that's a whole different story altogether. And it really depends on how, the history of the country and corruption within the country, how often it occurs. And, in a country like El Salvador, Dominican Republic, these countries are notorious for not doing the right thing most of the time. Last time I went to the Dominican Republic, It was in 2011 for my honeymoon. And I remember I looked at the price of gas and I asked like one of the workers there, just, hey, what's going on? And he pretty much confirmed the same thing is still going on. You pay like $4 or $5 or something and $2 goes to some corrupt official. I mean, that's just the way it is. So whether or not you use Bitcoin or not, you're going to run into, different actors in between the transactions. And I think you just have to assess it by the country.
I have a quick question for El Salvadorians. Do any of you have a problem with the government forcing you to use U.S. dollars, or the amount of money it took for them to implement a U.S. dollar system, or the risk that is involved in using a U.S. dollar system?
Yeah, the way that it was implemented, the U.S. dollar was very similar to the way that the Bitcoin was implemented. There was very little consultation. The prices went up. There was inflation. We did not get asked whether we wanted it or not. And with Bitcoin, it happened the exact same way, except it was faster. Like it was from one day to the next. And there were no forums. There were no economic studies done on the impact. Very little information. At least with the dollar, there was at least a campaign to inform people. With Bitcoin, it was the government spent $0, 0 satoshis, whatever, in educating people what this was about. And so you can imagine how confusing it was and how confusing it still is for everybody. There was a problem with both, but that's the kind of leaders that we have.
Whether you or not, you know about the benefits of using Bitcoin or some other currencies. I think it's still going to go back to, if the government did their job to educate people on the use of Bitcoin, that's not going to affect what the government does going forward in terms of using it, managing their own country for their own people. They still have to be able to show that, they're able to basically not be corrupt.
Josh Rendell disavows. Thank you for the $20 super chat. Really appreciate it. He says, "Love you guys. We love you back, Josh Rendell. You are a pillar of this community, hands down. Thank you for the support. Thank you for helping to keep the lights on over here at Steele HQ. Thank you. Appreciate it. For those who just walked in, we are live streaming live debate coverage of a big debate that's going on Twitter Spaces right now. Is Bitcoin a scam? Some people feel very strongly that it is. Others think this is a tremendous step forward. And there's some kind of moderate voices that seem to be making some interesting points in between there. And I'm offering a bit of commentary, just kind of interjecting here and there as we go on. If you haven't hit that like button, if you could just take a second to do that, it really helps out. Welcome, guys. Feel free to continue to give your thoughts in the chats. I'm seeing some good ones in there, and we're going to get back to the debate.
And he's not going to use just this idea of the volcano. There's going to be using the waterworks for mining, to get energy for the mining. And this affects communities. This affects, as always, the poor of the poor people. So, to be arguing that Bitcoin is the best because now grandma is not going to pay $2 or whatever for remittances is really a very narrow-minded and very ignorant argument.
Honestly, let me just answer that real quick. I don't think it's about that. We're not trying to tell you that the poor people don't matter. I think our approach is a little bit different. Your side of the argument says that there should be income redistribution or that there should be more taxation so that the people benefit from the government intaking those taxes and then being redistributed into them. What we're saying is let the actual functioning market, which adds value and exchanges voluntarily, work as we progress into better areas and we progress into better markets, because you don't export a whole lot of stuff, okay? You don't manufacture anything. And whatever you do manufacture, it's very limited in profitability. So what I think the benefit that you're missing is that the market is responding very positively to your adoption of Bitcoin, whether you like it or not. The market likes it, and people are going there, right? 4,000 people were there for a simple event that would have otherwise not taken place. And that's just one specific event that took place, and there's more events coming. I personally need to go to El Salvador because I have a Bitcoin school that I want to run, and it's a free Bitcoin school so that people can learn faster. And this one aspect of the market benefiting the people that are poorest, because it doesn't, the solution that we're trying to advocate for revolves around giving individuals the ability to earn money. So if there's somebody's making paints, somebody's making bananas, somebody's making breads, pupusas, whatever they want to sell, whatever services, they can exchange that with people that would otherwise not be there. And that's what benefits them. Redistributing income to people from the government is not benefiting them, because this is what happens in Guatemala as well. Okay? The NGOs are here in Guatemala advocating for the same thing, and it doesn't work. Why? You see in the United States, I lived there for 20 years. Okay? People get income every month, and they're still broke. They're still poor. They're going to food banks. Okay? They're living in their cars. The income redistribution idea of the left does not work. And this is what the beautiful thing of Bitcoin is going to bring into your scope of El Salvador, which would otherwise be forgotten, because Guatemala's the same thing. We export bananas, avocados, energy, right? Not a whole lot of stuff, but Bitcoin is bringing opportunity that would otherwise not be here. And that's where the disconnection is, because I want to see poor people rise up. Okay, I want to see poor people have running water. I want to see poor people have schools. I want to see people that are not of high means learn English so that they can transact easier with other people from outside the country. And that's where the difference is.
So let me ask you a question real quick to make sure, just to frame this, because it sounds like, based on what Jeshe, or I'm pronouncing that wrong, said, this is really a question of whether the El Salvadorian people get to decide whether they want this to be a part of their infrastructure rather than the government using them as a petri dish. Or let's say that the government or the president is convinced that this is for their best good. Isn't the question really, whose choice is it to really force this?
Yeah,
it's not. I don't agree with the president forcing anything on anybody. That's what I've said multiple times.
Is that the argument here, though? Some people are saying this is great for the El Salvadorian people, and they just don't understand it. So let's force them to understand it. Versus
No. The point is that the president chose on your behalf, which is what I understand. He has a 98% approval rating. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's true. But the point is that this is the unfortunate fact that you have to deal with. So you can either try to make it better or try to make it worse, but there's no in between, because you can't just stay there and wait for the dollar to change into digital dollars, because that's when you realize.
Let's assume you're correct. The question is, how do we get there? And Jeshe, you can tell me how to say your name. What were you going to respond?
Jeshe is fine. I think that the issue is you were framing it correct. I'm not saying that the government should tax more or should tax less. I'm saying that it's really crazy to think that public funds were used, millions of dollars, I don't know how many Bitcoins he bought, without consulting the people of El Salvador. And we have no way of publicly auditing those funds. And, we can debate whether Bitcoin is going to fix people's lives or not, individual uses, fine. But we didn't need the government to be in charge of this scheme. And that's going to be harmful. And you're right, we're here now, he made Bitcoin legal tender, of course, the majority of the El Salvadorian people will not be using it. It's going to be very privileged people who have access to the technology, who have education capabilities to understand it and to really use it. I am very skeptical of what you say that, this is going to go to the farthest cantones of the city, of the country, because people have other priorities. People have other priorities like staying alive and water. What
I heard Hector say was that it would be even worse if what's happening here is the president's doing this as a way to increase the price of BTC by the narrative of it being adopted.
That's exactly what happened. I don't know what he's doing it. But I think, he's using our money to do it. I think it's a big business opportunity for him. The Chivo wallet application, the ATMs are from his family. So all I see is a big, huge business opportunity, like it has always been, like it has always been.
That's
people
not a bad thing.
In government getting rich from the people's money, and he's doing it with our money. So it's like having someone come to your house and taking your money and buying dollars, and you don't want them to buy dollars because you want to use Bitcoin, but they bought dollars, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so I think that's
tyrants will tyrant.
Completely, this is completely outrageous. If in the United States, if you work for the government and you're told that, if we pay, if one of the ways to be paid is in Bitcoin, you must accept it. Everybody would be rioting, or there'd be a lot of people very angry that that's the law, basically. So and then the government goes and turns around and invests in Bitcoin, because Bitcoin and other coins in general are their value is it's somewhat tied to the popularity and the adoption of the coins. So obviously a major country or a smaller country adopting or just having some kind of laws, formally adopting it in some way, it's going to cause news, and it's going to drive the value up, because it's going to seem like there's more demand for it. So, which there probably is, like some of the people have said earlier, this is going to cause new opportunities to happen and things like that, more globalization for a small country. But honestly, if the people really don't know what's going on, and it's just some, like the president and like a few people who are sort of, doing things behind closed doors, or, just under the table type of deals like this, it's really not good. And like I said, if this happens in the United States, or you have a government that comes in and says, you have to accept Bitcoin if it's offered, basically, which is, from what I'm understanding from one of the speakers earlier, I haven't personally delved into this issue a lot, but that's the central argument here. And when I read the title, Bitcoin City is a scam, it goes back, you can cross out Bitcoin City and just ask yourself, is the El Salvadorian government a scam?
Okay.
Bitcoin itself is not a scam. I mean, everybody...
I'm going to interject a little bit here, and look at all the 69s in the chat. I love it. We got Josh Randell, Disavows, coming in with a $10 Make You Holler. Appreciate it, Josh. Appreciate all the super chats, man. Really, really appreciate it. He says, I wouldn't mind seeing some 69s in chats, and the community is all about the big 6-9 here. What's interesting to me is there seems to be a few people that feel this way in this debate right now, that just the very idea of the government being able to offer people to be paid out in Bitcoin for their wages as an end option, as one alternative, not to replace, but as an alternative, these few of these people talking right now find this reprehensible. I can't really wrap my head around that. If it's not being forced on people to be paid in Bitcoin, but simply a government-assisted alternative of an option of how people can be paid out, I really don't. I really don't see what the big deal is. Furthermore, this Bitcoin revolution that has been happening in El Salvador has been happening at the hands of a new young president there that was democratically elected, as far as we know, and currently has an approval rating of over 90%. Okay, so if the leader of El Salvador has had run on these things and is starting to execute these things, right, as it relates to Bitcoin, and currently has a 90% approval rating, my goodness, some of these folks in this debate sound like El Salvador is living under this absolute authoritarian, greedy tyranny. And then there's assertions that there's all sorts of super crooked things and insider trading kind of things going on with the president and his family, even without any proof, right? There's just assertions being made. Those are just some of my observations in the conversation over the last 10, 15 minutes there. Who do we got here? We got Low Roller Scratcher. We got Sliding Edge. We got Zombie Doge Army. We've got Jimmy D. Jimmy D, you guys making some great points in there. We got Prowess 007. Welcome, Prowess. Always good to see you. Who else? I think I got everyone that's been... 71, of course, is hanging around. I think he's probably lurking a little bit now. Zombie Doge Army says they should have used Dogecoin instead. Might be more willing since it's cheap and everyone can afford it. Yeah, I mean, so many of the concerns that they're continually talking about in this debate, Dogecoin solves, right? Now it's just up to us to spread that awareness. This is a common theme that I keep coming back to since I started making content. Due to its popularity, Bitcoin is front running all this stuff. But I think once the other shoe drops and the realization of Bitcoin's shortcomings sets in, I think that's going to be a tremendous opportunity for Dogecoin. I've always felt that way, and that's why I've always been overall big time in favor of Bitcoin adoption, because I feel as if Ethereum and Dogecoin adoption will be will occur shortly thereafter. Anyway. We'll go back to this debate just a little bit longer here, and then I'll probably wrap things up.
Yeah, just that about the, I really don't want investors to come to my country that are going to support the current president. I think it's not fair just having investors that are going to help to undermine democracy. That's all.
So you want NGOs?
I think there's a big disconnect. There's a big disconnect between Bitcoiners and politics itself, where I see that lots of Bitcoiners are apolitical, where they don't see it as a political issue, where they just see it as, market's going to solve it. They don't really see it from the welfare state itself. They don't see it, like Jeshe said, from indigenous communities or people that's from the right itself, that see this problems where in order to have Bitcoin, you got to have technology. But as I see it, it's more of like a neoliberal policy where it's coming in where, okay, let's just put this specific currency, let's control this people, but let's not really look at the political side of things. That's where I see it, but not Bitcoin itself. Where I see it from a futuristic point of view, you got to have some sort of trust in the system. That's where I see as blockchain and the scalability model of it, where you can have a look at once you control the nodes, you can have open source accounting and all that sort of stuff. That's the point where I want to believe it. Where Bitcoin, we know historically has been used for black market trades and all that, but now we're in the MySpace.
Every currency.
We're in the MySpace era of it. It's not the full continuing. I understand the judgments that we prevailing, like we're giving out right now, is just it's right now. It's not if it's going to happen. But yeah, that's my point of view of it. Anyways.
Hey, I would like 2 minutes if you guys can allow me, please.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, thank you so much. I've been waiting for this opportunity. So first of all, there was a Dominican talking about corruption in El Salvador, but he doesn't live in El Salvador. So it's like if I talk about his country and I say like, oh, that country is corrupt, but I don't live there, so I don't know. Secondly, Jessie, she is against the current government. So, of course, everything that she's going to say is going to be a negative. Now, El Salvador is not perfect. It's not paradise. Hey, we've been for decades in problems like civil wars, corruption. And the problem of the water, electricity, is not from this current government. It's been from decades. So, of course, if you see my profile, you will see that I support the government. And I will tell you, I'll be clear on that. I'm not going to be telling you things and acting like if I don't support the government. I do. But I just want to throw that it's not fair that people is talking negative things just because they are against the current government. If you're gonna talk something, be real. Don't just talk here and act like if you're a victim, and then people in the audience will think that so it's not what they say about El Salvador. Now, if you got
so let me ask you: are you saying that Jesha was lying, or that she just represents one side?
Yeah, she's on one side. Just like just like I support the government, she supports the oppositors. And
the question is if she is lying. That's the question.
And I just say that the current problems are not from the current government. They've been there from decades.
That doesn't answer the question. Okay, we know that. I am Salvadorian too. I am Salvadorian too.
What is your question?
Okay?
What is your question?
The question is, okay, they said it. Was Jessie lying? Yes or no?
She is lying because she's putting the whole thing. Like
you are lying now. You are lying now. So that you are saying that she is lying because you know what? She didn't mention. She mentioned the problem of water. Okay,
of course.
That is true, and it's true too. Okay, that has been forever. It's true, but she hasn't lied. You know what? Excuse me that I interrupt. Excuse me, but I really get very upset about all of what I listen.
I haven't finished. If you like, let me finish, and then I'll give you your time. So, one more time.
And tell us how Bitcoin and the government using Bitcoin will fix the previous administration.
And thank you for reminding me about the main subject, which is Bitcoin. The government is not obligating people to use Bitcoin. I can use dollar perfectly if I want, and I can use Bitcoin if I want. That's optional. So whoever is saying that it's
optional,
something
like I said.
imposed, sorry, but that's not true because I had the freedom.
Can I ask you real quick? I think what I heard them say is it's not forcing people to use it, but it's using the people's money to buy it. Like the government is using treasury money to install it. So it's kind of is forcing people to buy it, right? Is that true or is that incorrect?
No, that I will not say is true or is a lie because to be honest, I'm not sure if that money is coming from the public. It might, and if it is, hopefully they really use it for a good purpose, like the veterinary that they're trying to build, or the 20 schools they try to build. Again, all right. If you really have something to say, please don't use the problems that have been there for decades, like if it's from the current government, because that's not fair. That's not fair. And that's a scare.
Hector, may I talk now, Hector?
Go ahead.
Okay,
just
listen this.
Okay, wait. Let Jesha respond, and then Matrix.
I don't know. I thought Hector sounded pretty big.
It's important to say that I am not defending any of the other governments. And by only asking this government to be transparent about how they use their funds, this is the right of all El Salvadorians. The government, the state of El Salvador bought like 60 Bitcoins, or I don't know how many more, like it's millions of dollars that come from my pockets and your pockets, the guy who called me a liar. This is a fact. They bought the Bitcoins. Now, how do we control where these Bitcoins are? For all we know, they are in the president's wallet because there's no way of controlling it. Because this government is not transparent, just like the other governments were not transparent, just like FMLN was not transparent, just like Arena was not transparent. So this is not whether I like this government or not. I don't like corruption, and I'm tired of living in a country where we think that president parties are going to solve the problems and that that they divide us. So
move. What a fucking stupid thing to say. people don't have
Bitcoin.
any sort of fun sometimes
This is
to
Bitcoin,
move on.
Chris. You guys are complaining on here talking about Bitcoin City is a scam, and I've been listening, and you guys don't even know the first thing about money, and you guys don't even know the first thing about Bitcoin, it being 100% transparent, that you can track it on the blockchain, and you're talking about people are being corrupt with the transparent blockchain technology. You guys don't even know the first thing about money. You guys
Can I ask you a question?
How can you know that, my friend? If you don't know everybody that is here, how do you know that?
Spicy.
You know, may I talk?
Bitcoin Chris, just real quick. I want you to say everything you just said again, but slower so that we can retort. But help me understand one thing, because I'm just a moderator here and don't understand or have a side. But does Lightning have transparency?
As far as Lightning is like it's like a side chain that just pretty much speeds up the transaction speed. I'm not an expert in that.
Isn't that what El Salvador is using? It's like the Chiva wallet, and it's all Lightning.
Again, that's only for payments, and I'm not an expert in Lightning, so I wouldn't feel comfortable.
So say your first point again, because I get your point that, you know, are they debating monetary or fiscal policy here? I feel like the argument here is, who should decide whether El Salvador buys Bitcoin and does this city stuff? Should it be the population or kind of a top-down, centrally planned initiative? I feel like that's what they're arguing.
Yeah, so they're complaining about Bitcoin, but their dollar, the U.S. dollar that they're using, which is our currency here in the United States, is losing value because the government keeps printing more and more dollars. So they're complaining about Bitcoin, which is the hardest asset ever created on planet Earth.
Are they complaining about Bitcoin, or are they complaining about why they use Bitcoin? Because they're forced to, or because they're convinced it's a good idea?
Well, you had the speaker earlier say that nobody's forced to use Bitcoin because they can still use cash. So that was something that was already clarified. But
so Matrix.
Okay.
Respond to that, Matrix.
Okay, thank you. Listen. Last Friday, I was also in a space, promoted by Hector, and I love the titles. Bitcoin City is a scam, changed my mind. That's the central point of this space, okay? But I want to say something that I said last Friday. To everybody that is not from El Salvador, of course, I cannot talk on behalf of all the Salvadorian people. I am nobody. But let us say this simple. I am sure that most of Salvadorians, we are not against Bitcoin. No. Okay? No, we are not against it. We don't care about Bitcoin. This is a political issue. Okay? Somebody just said, hey, this is about Bitcoin, not about political. What are you talking about? There was a guy that knew about politics, and he said, no, whether you like it or not, if you are in Bitcoin and you are talking about another country, you are getting involved in El Salvador politics. Okay? So don't try to separate politics from Bitcoin in El Salvador. Because it's mixed. Okay, and listen this. I feel a lot of respect for the United States of America. Listen this, a lot of respect. I know very well that is the land of the free and brave. And you know what? I am sure that if Bukele had done just 1% of what he's been doing in our country, okay, he wouldn't be any more the president, okay? Just one little thing, okay? I guess that some of you don't know the very huge mistake that Bukele did. Listen this. The huge mistake was the day that he entered the Congress of El Salvador, joined by the army, joined by the police, and they were with weapons. They were armed. One question, Americans, what would have happened if Donald Trump gets the Marines inside the Congress to intimidate the congressman? Just tell me that. Okay, but why that happened in El Salvador? Because I am sad to say it, but we are a banana republic. Okay, and he knows very well that our people do not understand the real meaning of freedom. Okay, we do not understand that. Okay, and that's why that guy that was talking about El Salvador, Mardo, or whatever. Okay, the question that was being asked, if Bukele is using the money of the people of El Salvador to buy Bitcoin, of course is using that money. He's using the public money, and he didn't ask anybody.
We cut out there. I'm not quite sure what happened. Let me. I think there's some malfunction going on with the space right now, guys.
I don't know if it's just me, but your sound kind of cut out there. If you're still there,
okay. But you
move
know,
to a different spot. And
I don't know. But you know, popularity doesn't have anything to do with doing right or wrong. Okay? It doesn't have anything to do. 99% of people can say that something is okay, but that.
Say hello to my little friend. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. It's just, I don't know, that guy kind of reminds me of that, the way he talks. I don't think that guy understands that Donald Trump is no longer our president. He referenced, what if Trump did this? What if Trump deployed the Marines and bullied Congress? I don't know. What?
That's just BS. That's a dream and utopia. Just that. Thank you.
Hi, may I speak? Sorry.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Wally Bits. I'm Salvadorian. I've been in crypto since 2016.
Oh, here we go.
And Bitcoin honestly has changed my life. So honestly, I agree with everything that Bukele is doing. I don't care whether I'm not into politics, right? I'm not into politics. But honestly, I think everything that he's doing is great. Everybody's going to have their own opinion. Everybody's going to, because the way they're living. The only thing I wanted to say is this. I've been in El Salvador talking to people about Bitcoin and everything, right? The only thing that's missing here is lack of education. That's it. That's all it is, lack of education. We just need to educate the people and let them choose whether they want to use Bitcoin or dollar.
Yeah, let's educate them then. You want to figure out what's wrong with it?
So, Wally,
you know what?
Hector,
when you say educating people, you know what, guys? I am not an expert on Bitcoin, but I know a bit about economy. Okay, that's part of my profession, and Bitcoin is just an asset, an investment. That's it. It's not the big deal out of that, If you are going to tell me about that technology that is being used, okay, or is linked to Bitcoin, thank you. I don't need to talk about that because for me, Bitcoin has to do with economy mainly.
Hi guys.
Okay.
My name is Abilio. I'm a Salvadoran as well, and the question is by most Salvadorans here is that we were not told what is Bitcoin, what were the benefits, what were the things against Bitcoin. And if we were educated, we were given more information, maybe we will be supporting Bitcoin more than what the government's doing. And like Jesha said, the thing is that from one day to another, the government, or especially the president, took public funding and bought Bitcoins, So the thing is, should Bukele and his government have given us a choice as to using wallets, or just say, you know what, just use this wallet and keep it there? Because from what I see it, like the Mr. Matrix just said, we're talking about economics. And what I learned in economics is that when you have competition, you have quality. And right now, when you're told, okay, use the cheaper wallet and that's it, that's going against competition. So the thing is, what do you guys that have more time working with Bitcoin tell us? You know what? Don't use only Chivo wallets should use another wallet at the same time, or should I just keep the Chivo wallet and have faith that in a couple of years, my money is going to give me something back? Thank you.
I can answer that for you. Me personally, if I'm gonna use Bitcoin as my asset, my economic asset, I would save it in a different wallet, a personal wallet that you can save your, that you can hold your keys to it, right? Chivo wallet does not let you hold your keys; it's governmental owned. I would use Chivo just for transactions here, which I do for gas, to go shopping, grocery shopping. I use Chivo wallet, but for my savings, I use my wallet that I can keep the keys for, a Ledger or Trezor.
Hey Wally, how much of your love for Bitcoin and it changing your life is attributed to its price appreciation versus its utility?
Price depreciation, right? I'm not a Bitcoiner to say. I'm in it for the money because I'm Salvadorian. Ain't nobody gave me nothing, you know. So I'm over here. I'm doing it mostly for price appreciation, you know, like any monetary system, I suppose. Before it was gold, and it changed. Now it's evolving, right?
So what about all the people that would get into it right now? You know, what do they might have different views because they don't stand to get a whole bunch of price appreciation.
Oh, look, definitely. Price appreciation is going to happen. Remember, all markets go up and down. So price appreciation is going to happen. It's lack of education. For me, I saw 2016, I went from 1,000 to 20,000. I saw the Bitcoin. I didn't take out money. I didn't understand the market. I saw my money go up and then go straight down to 3,000. And then from there, I saw the accumulation, and then I look where it is now. So it's just lack of education. If you get educated on it, you have nothing to worry about. You know, it's gonna go. It's a market.
Okay, but you know what? I agree with that what you said. But you know, for Americans that are here and people that are not Latinos, because Latinos, okay, we have almost the same issues, you know. But for Americans that are listening this, you know, you don't know the reality of, let's say, 80% of our people in El Salvador, okay? I guess that maybe some of you don't know that the minimum wage in El Salvador is around $360, okay? And so, how are you going to be saying to a person that gets $360, okay? It's less really because of deduction of social insurance, taxes, blah, 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 okay? Let's say that it gets $300. How are you going to be saying to somebody to invest money monthly, okay? Can you survive with $300 per month? Can you have a car? Can you pay the gasoline? Can you send your sons, okay, to school with that, okay? Food, buy food, clothes? No, that's unreal. Okay, this Bitcoin is just an investment. And most of the people in El Salvador, we don't have money to invest. We have just survival life. A survival, we're just surviving.
Can I have the chance to say something?
Go ahead.
Well, to the guy that is talking, right? Like we all know, as a Salvadorians, we all know that there is a lot of things that they're not 100% happiness for people, right? But also we, as Salvadorians, also know that that is an option of, like, you're not forced to do Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. It's just an option for people that can't do it, and all the people that is not able to do it, like they're obviously they're not gonna do it, right? But for people that has the money and has the willing to do it, this is an opportunity, and that's what is bringing it. Bukele is planting the seed on people and setting people's mind to invest, which is like non-government has done it before. Okay, and like now, like what I seen is like you're just saying all the bad things, but you're not seeing the big picture. You just see the small picture and not seeing the big picture. The big picture is different. This is an optional for. And he has said it so many times. This is for investment. Like, it's to bring people to invest in our country and make it.
Okay. Let's say that you are right. That he says that. that is just for an investment. Okay, and I'm going to tell you what is my big issue, okay, with Bukele, okay? My big issue with this and Bitcoin, not against Bitcoin, is against Bukele because he didn't need to impose this like a legal tender in El Salvador just for Bitcoin to be used. If Bitcoin was there before, okay, anybody was free to use it, to buy and sell, whatever. And why this guy made it a legal tender? That is my point. It's freedom, my friend. It's freedom. He doesn't have any
just
right
to benefit the country, because before, if it was illegal, the country wouldn't be, they couldn't be benefited.
It wasn't illegal. It wasn't illegal. Never was illegal.
To the country, that's why he made it legal.
Never was illegal. Never was illegal.
Hey, Matrix, I have something, right? So look, I'm Salvadorian, right? And I live in El Salvador. The way I see it is this. He has opened the door for bigger investors to come in. How is that going to help the economy? The poor people, right? Yes. Guess what? The poor people are the workers. Eventually, more money coming into El Salvador, the minimum wage is not going to be $300 anymore. People are not going to be working for $300 anymore. Once more money starts coming in, which it is with Bitcoin City, with all the Bitcoin stuff, a lot of Bitcoin investors coming into El Salvador is going to help our little country blow up like you have no idea. That's my point. That's my perspective. Yes. But economy, it's going to trickle down to everybody. If a lot of Bitcoiners come to El Salvador, invest into, I'm going to go eat pupusas. I'm going to tip this person. I'm going to give them $5. I'm going to give them $10. Whatever the tip is, they got money. They can do that. So guess what? That money's coming into the economy. That money's coming into El Salvador's economy. That money's going to go trickle down to all the people that need it. So that's how I see how Bitcoin is going to help El Salvador a lot.
Okay, just one more little thing, because I know very well that I cannot be just talking and talking. Okay, just one little thing, and maybe the one that are promoting this space, maybe we could talk about, because I read something, I understand that it's true, that Bukele announced that he was going to try to get he is going to print, let's say it that way, that he is going to print 1 billion, okay, in Bitcoin bonus, okay, and they were saying that he is offering to pay 6% for that. What's that? Maybe you can talk about that, and thanks a lot, guys.
All right, guys.
So real quick, just to restate, I feel the argument here, and I keep reframing this, but
let it go. 1 more minute.
No one's really arguing whether or not Bitcoin is good or bad. It seems the argument is...
No, they were arguing that. Some people were arguing that.
Is the president of El Salvador, is it good that he's forcing people to see that it's good? Like kind of like Michael Saylor with MicroStrategy, where he's buying Bitcoin as a way to enrich the stockholders, or Elon Musk with Bitcoin. Like, is this just a ploy to increase Bitcoin's price?
Yo, can I?
And he's forcing people to be pawns. Go for it.
Hey, I'm from Finland, Europe, so I have a different viewpoint. I live in a currency union. Finland has been in fixed currency since 96, and that has ruined our economy. And that is what the Bitcoiners are speaking about, sharing the currency. And the whole Europe at the moment is, let's say, fucked because of the fixed currency. The countries are too different in their economies to share a currency.
Guys, do you want me to keep the stream going? Press 1 in the chat. If you don't care, press 2. Those are your 2 options. I'll let it go a little while longer if you guys want me to. 1, if you want me to keep the stream, keep the debate going. 2, if you just you're indifferent, no or indifferent. I will be back on tonight, you guys, with Sadaf Jadran at 9 p.m.
Work price between the employee and the employer. It's the work price comes from the central parties, from the unions. You're not allowed to make a deal for yourself, for example, and because the politics in Europe and these are very good examples, Finland and Italy, they are so stiff in their job markets that all the work is now too expensive in here.
Okay, guys, looks like overwhelming. A couple twos, but mostly ones. So we'll keep it going. Just make sure, if you could do me a small favor in return, just make sure to hit that like button if you haven't already. And if you are on Twitter and if you haven't retweeted the stream, if you would consider doing that, I will put the link to what tweet to restream or what tweet to retweet in the chat. But we'll get back to the debate. Just make sure you hit the like button. By the way, if you're brand new here, you're watching Steven Steele live. I'm Steven Steele. Feel free to subscribe. We've got an awesome community here. Really the best. So there's that. I see that one person, probably that one person that voted 2 probably just gave me a thumbs down. Anyway, if you haven't thumbs up yet, be sure to do that. It really helps out a lot. Thank you, guys.
And I think that Bitcoin profits that you're going to get should be put to get the factories and anything that will get you exports. More exports is what you want, not just money circulating domestically or importing. You want exports.
Thanks for that perspective.
Yeah, and like on the previous topic, there is no transparency at the moment. I believe in who holds the keys to those wallets, and are they multi-sig or any? What are they? So that transparency should be there.
Yeah, the last thing that I read is that Bukele so far has purchased 1,020 bitcoins. Where is that money right now? We don't know. Okay, regarding that BS that he says that he is going to build 20 or I don't know how many schools with the gains of the Bitcoin, okay, from the day that he purchased the Bitcoin to up to the price right now, okay, but we don't know anything how he got the gains, because in order to get a gains, you have to sell the Bitcoin. We don't know anything about that. There is no transparency, like Jesse said.
Yeah, you should get more export to your country. For example, Ecuador once were a very good nation, and then it kind of collapsed because they also started paying to the citizens not to do anything. So then the country was rebuilt by getting foreign exporting factories again to the country. For example, forest industry and that kind of stuff. So that's what your country should focus on, and not on those hospitals or anything that kind of stuff.
I am 100%. I agree with 100% with you. And you know what? Okay, and this is something that let's go back to when they put the dollar. Okay, you know what? It's not an economy in a country. It's not going to be better. It's not going to grow just because of the monetary unit that we have. We could have Europe, we could have dollar, we could have Bitcoin or any other coin, but that is not the solution because, excuse me, Bitcoiners, but sometimes you sound like Bitcoin is the remedy for all the sicknesses, and you know that is not true. What we need in our country is like this guy from Finland is saying, you know what? We need jobs. Just working. Hard work is going to get us out from poverty. Not just a coin, BTC, dollar. No, it's jobs. And you know what? For some of you, okay, I guess that most of Americans that could be listening that here, you do not have any idea about the unemployment rate in El Salvador. Easily could be around 40%. Easily. Just in this year, I was listening, about 50,000 guys are going to graduate from high school in El Salvador. And there is no jobs for those guys. Jobs is what we need. That is the solution. Hard work.
Yeah, for example, at the moment you have a fixed currency. One solution could be that you get your own floating currency. And the point is underlining floating. And 24/7 openly floating currency could improve your economy. But if it starts to get manipulated or fixed to something, for example, Lebanese pound is fixed currency. And that's why the whole country went flush to the toilet when there was a import-export crisis. If the Lebanese pound were floating currency, then the currency rate would have been adjusted to the demand and supply in the exports and imports. But because it was not, then the whole economy fell down on when the shipping terminal exploded. So floating currency could save and bring good economics to El Salvador. Just
I have
think
a question
about that option too.
Jobs. Matrix, you mentioned jobs. Now, already, some US dollar-based economy has the job growth, job creation, etc. Is the introduction of Bitcoin to El Salvador somehow preventing the creation of jobs the traditional way that it was happening?
No, it's not, man.
So maybe Bitcoin is at least not preventing the jobs from being created the way they were being created before, but potentially it can bring some investment and jobs to El Salvador as a new vehicle, as a new way of investing, and a new technology industry being nurtured there. Would you agree that some additional jobs might get created because of Bitcoin?
That's for sure. That you know what? There is already one company in called I don't remember, but they already creating jobs in there. They're hiring people right now, like high techs and all that stuff. These companies is actually like I saw that yesterday when when the president was putting doing his speech. I saw the advertising, and they already hiring people, but obviously that not everybody will be able to work in it. Some people will need some skills, right? Like speak English speaking or stuff like that. But there is already bringing a Bitcoin and all these cryptocurrencies. They're already bringing jobs to El Salvador and cooperating with the economy, right? So I don't see Bitcoin stopping the process of making succeed on jobs. Sorry, how can I say this?
Job creation.
Job creation, yeah. So I know that we, as I say, I am Salvadorian too, and as a Salvadorian, we all know that we need jobs, we need prosperity and all that stuff. But if we wait until people is educated, until blah, 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 all this stuff happens, and then we don't we don't do anything now, or we don't start anything, we're just gonna stuck in the same place forever. So,
is all this as valid if volatility comes? Like the last year, Bitcoin's price has gone up. What happens with volatility? Does that hurt this argument?
You know, now that you mentioned volatility, okay, and somebody was saying something about it, you know. You know what? We know very well that every country wants, okay, to have an stable economy, to have stability, okay? And we know very well all the turmoil around the world caused by the virus, you know? That's a reality. Inflation, okay? Everywhere, okay? And you know what? My opinion is this, okay? Bukele chose the worst moment to do this experiment because now there is uncertainty, volatility in the economy everywhere. He added more stability to our country with the Bitcoin because that's the nature of Bitcoin, instability, up and down, and that's normal.
Wait, so if I hear your argument correctly, you're saying that things are already getting worse because of the instability in the fiat system getting worse. And we have seen that. That's actually a very true statement. You know, back in March 2020, volatility in the fiat-based financial system was so bad that at one point, actually, the bids for US treasuries had disappeared. That had never happened in history before, that there was no reasonable bid for US treasury bonds. And if that system is already getting shakier because of its own volatility, shouldn't you be trying something new? Even though it may be risky, you don't want to go down with the ship that's already leaking and creaking. And if you can find a lifeboat, even though the boat may be bouncy, but at least it's not leaking, and it's not going to sink, even though it may bounce around a lot. Volatility, yes, in Bitcoin, it's a part of the deal. The risk and the volatility comes with the reward, and that's not a prediction. That's looking backwards in history.
That happens in any other economy, right? There is always volatility, and
that's right. Guys, I have a question, guys. I have a question with something that I really would love to understand, and I would love to listen to somebody that really knows about this. One simple question. Can you tell me why or what is the reason why the government of the United States, okay, does not take the decision of banning all the cryptocurrencies in the United States? I am very curious about that because even Trump said that he didn't like the Bitcoin because it's kind of a competence for dollar, okay? So why government of the United States doesn't take any action about cryptocurrency?
Because it will destroy all investor confidence in the entire country and collapse the financial markets worth of $40 trillion. That's why. Trump can say whatever he wants. He can't do anything unilaterally. It's not that simple.
Also, the regulators are always way behind wherever the market's frontiers are.
I don't think they're behind. The regulators literally know about Taproot from we're talking about a year ago. They may appear that way. They have people who do know what's going on. They have no interest in banning anything, including India was talking about it, a ban. Meanwhile, they were actually getting teams of people set up to research the subject. I work with some of them. Japan is red carpet, welcome aboard. A lot of bureaucracy, but they're very open. The U.S. isn't going to ban it. There's just look. It's a matter of if you have a property, and some country decides to ban it, it'll be a really weird thing for the U.S. to do.
Okay.
Because right now, the biggest offshore haven in the world is the United States. And as soon as you begin making these moves, they may lose that status.
Yeah, because like I said, at the beginning, I am not against Bitcoin. I am not, and I know I cannot say I know. I think that the future, okay, is cryptocurrency. I agree. And I think that at the future, even the government, the federal government of the United States, they are going to produce their own cryptocurrency, the crypto dollar or whatever. That's and that could be the end of a lot of cryptocurrency. That's what I think. Okay.
Sorry, the ban is going to be the end?
Not the banks, but the United States is going to produce their own, the government of the United States.
Oh, a CBDC. Yeah, a CBDC. Maybe some of them, but I don't think CBDC does offer what other cryptos do. So it may replace some, maybe. And first of all, no one knows how open it will be. This whole CBDC story is a very open discussion. It's very early stages. Like they're doing something in China, but it's not any different really than using a PayPal app or a Venmo or whatever else, any other app you use to send money back and forth. Like in the United States, there's an app called Zelle, which is basically a consortium of banks. It's not any different than having US dollar CBDC. I mean, I don't think that would change anything. And how open they can make it is also a big question, because they don't want to make it as private as cash, which means they need to know who you are. And if they cannot figure out who you are, you can't really use it, which means adoption outside the US, say in Africa or somewhere, how they're going to let those people use it. So I'm not so sure that's going to be the case. CBDCs they're not going to make a dent in this at all.
Yeah, CBDCs don't change the fundamental fiat nature of the currency. That's where the real difference is between Bitcoin and the CBDCs. And, that's Bitcoin is sound money, fiat is not. CBDC is just an electronic version of fiat, a special one with more surveillance built in, maybe potentially even, features like decaying purchasing power. If you don't spend it, it starts eroding. It's essentially a negative interest rate. So those things could come with the CBDC. We will find out what the actual implementations are. But to answer your question, fundamentally, it is still fiat currency. It's still fiat money.
So let me just ask again, like, what's the El Salvador scenario from a risk management perspective? How big of a downside risk is there to the government, like systemic risk, if Bitcoin has like severe price reduction?
Right. So what is the exposure of El Salvador in terms of their, let's say?
If they do this bond issuance and they do the city and they take on a whole bunch of debt, does that increase?
Explode, for example, if there's a bank run on Tether. So, if I read it right, the volcano bond is from Tethers. It's not from US dollars. It's from Tether. So that's going to bring a systemic risk, I think.
How do you know it's from Tether? Bitfinex is involved, but I don't think anyone knows if it's Tethers or US dollars. I don't think that's so clear. And
that's
bond
the problem
doesn't seem to be.
Nobody knows.
Well, I think personally, if you want to know my opinion, I think the conditions of this bond are not fully negotiated yet, from what it sounds like. It's a very weird one.
Right, right.
That's true.
I mean, if the bond is subject to some kind of calling in of the loan, if the Bitcoin price was to dip massively, then that's one kind of risk. If the bond issuance, the contract involves no early calling, the bond just pays its interest, and Bitcoin crashes, we know if Bitcoin crashes, 90% it's going to recover. That's what always happens. It will just be a cheaper Bitcoin available for a little while. People like me and others will, very happily sell our furniture and buy more Bitcoin.
Smart man.
If it was so cheap. So the Bitcoin price is going to bounce back up. So I don't think in the long run there is any serious risk if the contract is written properly. If it is, subject to volatility in the interim, then that's a stupid way to issue a bond, in my opinion.
Can I give my opinion?
Yes. Hopefully you're going to call Bitcoin City a scam. But go ahead.
Okay, so I am from El Salvador and I left my country when I was 22 years. For 40 years, I've been working in United States and trying to make up my life. And then I never want to go back to my country because we don't have no hope over there in those years. Then my daughter, they came to United States when she was a year old, running just, to survive. She's a nurse, and all my kids graduate, and I have a good life here in United States. And then I decided to win last year to my country. And the vision that this guy have is a total different than all the governors in our world.
Okay.
Because he is giving the democracy to the people. And that's what happened when he see the problem that was coming because United States doesn't accept what he's doing for our people. He took the chance to take the Bitcoin and then give a birth, give a legacy, and give legal as a legal tender to this coin. And then he got the opportunity to go to another side because we don't have no money. That we have the dollar that don't belong to us. We pay to use that dollar. And I don't know much about money. I don't know much about investment. But when I went and see what he's doing, oh my God, you guys been amazing. And right now, that movement that he's doing is the millennials, all you guys. And I'm so happy to see the young generation doing something that my generation never done because you guys are doing something different. And it's take away the power of those rich people. So now it's something different, and I'm so happy, very happy that you guys are doing some changes in the world because if you guys look at it, the Democrats and the Republicans, all the senators, they don't look for us. They just look for themselves, and that's very sad. So the president in El Salvador is making changes for the whole world. And the next generations, they're going to be studying everything about him because it's amazing. It's amazing with all the gang members and all that is going on in our country. No killing. I want to go back over there and buy my house again because I have a hope. And that's what the millennials are giving to the world. Thank you, guys.
Wow. I think that's a good place to end it. That woman, very, very moving, really. Words from that woman. I think that was just a really, really sincere, came from a really, really sincere place there. That was really cool. All right. Well, guys, I'm going to wind this one down. But I will be back tonight at 9 p.m. with none other than Siddharth Jadran. Will be on camera with me tonight, so I need some time to put together that show. A couple people I saw asked me about my predictions for Crow. Funny that you ask. I will be talking about Crow. Put it this way. Crow is one of 3 DeFi projects that I'll be talking about tonight. I have 3 DeFi projects I'll be talking about tonight that I think that already are doing well, that I believe are going to continue doing exceptionally well. And so that'll be one of the things that I will be talking about on tonight's show. Folks, thank you for tuning in to this special live debate coverage of Bitcoin City. We will continue the conversation regarding Bitcoin City on tonight's show with Siddharth. Make sure you have your notifications set on so you don't miss tonight's show because it's going to be a really good one. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate you guys, each and every one of you. And until next time, which will be tonight, a little later tonight, this is Steele signing out. Thank you, guys.